Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo. This is MeWe, Metaphysics and Wellness Fairs for energizing body, mind, heart, and soul. We have events throughout the Northwest in Seattle, Portland, Salem, and Eugene. We've been running events online now for almost 2 years, and we're doing so many of them at this time, probably about 4 or 5 a month. We have many practitioners and vendors now from all over the world, and we interview them so you get a chance to know who we are before you meet us at an event. I'm here today interviewing Laurie Hewitt. Laurie, it's lovely to be with you.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you.
So tell us, what do you do? What do you share at our events?
I do what I call soul path readings. And what I discovered was I was channeling this group that is our counsel, our soul counsel when we are on the other side. And they help us plan out our lives before we actually incarnate. And so when I meet with someone, their soul group steps forward and talks with them and reminds them about their soul and why they came this time, what their mission is, if you will.
Wow. And maybe could you, I think all these directions we could go, maybe, are there themes? I'm just curious about the soul group. Are there themes in people's soul groups? And like,
soul groups are at least my experience has been that they can range in size from like 3 to like 12. And they're a group of beings that have been with your soul since the beginning of time and always helps you to plan out your life before you incarnate, but then also helps us review when we go back to the other side and helps us to look at where did we meet those goals? Where did we go off course a little bit? What is it that we still want to come back and work on again? And all of this information about the soul council really, I was first introduced to that concept with the Michael Newton book, Journey of Souls. And I knew I was channeling something that was higher than I channeled before, but I just didn't know what to call it. And when I read his book, it's like, that's what this is. This is who these folks are that show up and start talking to people. So everyone's soul group is unique to them. Some are pretty serious and straightforward. Some, they match to the personality of the person. And so if you have a sense of humor about things, or you learned better with humor, then that's what they give you. And they sort of nudge people, but a lot of times in a very loving, kind, but oftentimes humorous way. So it's always interesting to me to see what personality of the soul group is coming through and how that fits with the person that I'm receiving the information for.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Maybe let's tell me a little bit about how you ever got started in this work and what your pathway was to lead you here. Because it sounds like you were channeling before you were realizing you were channeling with this group. And
it was interesting. It was back in probably my first introduction was actually back in the 70s when a therapist I was seeing told me to go home and read Jane Roberts' books by the Seth books, which was a very long time ago. And that really kind of opened the doors for me, if you will, to begin thinking about something other than just straightforward religion. And as I studied and I, read books, I didn't think I could channel. And then I read another book that basically said, yeah, anybody can channel. And I was like, really? And so I started sort of playing with it. I didn't really start channeling in the way I do now until I moved to Colorado about a little over 30 years ago. And then it seemed like it really started to increase, and I was pushed and pushed more and more by spirit to really tune in and get this information and share it with others. And I've stopped and started over the years, but it's been a steady continuation and pushing toward doing this and offering these services to people. So it's been a slow process, but I feel like now I'm at a place where I pretty much always hear voices, if you will. And then when I'm sitting with someone and doing a reading, they come through very clearly and give people the information they're seeking.
I was imagining that people might go back to their soul group regularly to get feedback on all kinds of things.
Yeah, I have some folks who do that. They'll check in with me every once in a while and just sort of like update, if you will, or, like kind of a check-in of how am I doing and where do I need to go next kind of ideas. So it's always about receiving that deeper information. And as souls awaken more, it's really about coming into that alignment as a human being with our souls and really following the path that our soul wants us to be on.
Great, great. Are there any other particular kinds of themes that people typically come to you for, or any other flavors of modalities that you tend to mix in? I'm just in case there's something there.
Yeah. A lot of times people come because they're not sure what they're doing, what they should be doing next, and they just want some guidance. So a lot of times what I'm finding is themes seem to be things like the person is a healer and doesn't know that or has no idea about how to do that. And so the council begins to help them wake into that possibility and to start exploring what kind of healer are they? Are they going to work with stones? Are they going to be an animal communicator? I gave a reading to a lady the other day, and it became very clear pretty quickly that she's a medium. And, that's something she hadn't really identified for herself, even though she says, I talk, I hear people, they come through and I talk to dead people. I'm like, oh, medium. And so they help folks kind of figure out what path are they on? What is their kind of job, if you will, this lifetime that they're here to wake up to. And mostly the themes seem to be about being healers in one way or another, and that expresses itself in many ways. So it could be that you're a teacher and you're teaching young children, or you're a nurse and you're taking care of the elderly and how to connect in the way that they need. So it really varies, and I never know. To me, that's the exciting part, is I never know who's going to show up and what information they're going to get. It's always interesting and fun between myself and the person, because the person's always like, wow, I didn't expect that. It's like, yeah, neither did I.
Yep.
So it's always very exciting to see what they're going to get.
And I think you mentioned for yourself that you hear, so the clairaudience, is
I
that
do.
are there,
I mostly hear, because I think my guides know that if they didn't talk to me, I'd probably ignore them. But as I've done this work more and more, I also get what they'll also show me a lot of times are, it's almost like watching a movie. They will show me a past life that maybe relates to what they're trying to share with their person. And so I'll see it just like I'm watching a movie. And more recently, I've really connected more with the kinesthetic. So a lot of times they communicate that way. And it always amazes me. It's always geared toward the individual and the way they receive information. So kinesthetic is not my primary way, but if that's the other person's way of receiving information, or that's what they understand, then they will give it to me kinesthetically, and I have to describe it to the person.
to me, like you have different sensations, feelings in your body.
Yeah, if they're trying to convey to that person that their heart is closed, I will instantly feel like my heart space is completely shut down. It's like a big rock. And I'll convey that to them and say, okay, this is what you need to do, or this is what I'm feeling. And they're always like, yeah, that's it. You're right. So it helps them identify within their own body kind of where the block is, perhaps.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, they're giving you the messages through your whole being, and the thing that's going to be the most of service, the most open for the person you're working with.
Right. Of course, it's their counsel, so they're going to tailor it to the person and the way they're going to receive it the best.
Right, and as you said, they're aligned with that being too, so they naturally communicate that way as well.
Exactly. And I just feel like my job is to stay in integrity and set my ego and mind aside as much as I can, and just let whatever comes through me come straight through. And I don't censor it. Sometimes I will stop and either ask out loud or think to myself, really, you want me to say that to the person? And usually that's the moment when I do that. And then I say it to the person. That's exactly what they needed to hear. So I just trust that. And mostly I always say I'm a receiver. It's like I just step aside and the information just comes through and straight out again.
Great. It's great.
Yeah.
If people want to learn more about you, connect with you on the web, where do they go?
They can actually go to my website if they'd like to. There's information there, and it is called spiritualsojourn-center.com.
Great.
And there's information there about me and what I do and the services I offer.
That's great. And maybe let's spell it out for people too.
Oh yeah, it's spiritualsojourn -center center.com.
Great. Great.
Yeah,
Well, it's been lovely chatting with you. I'm excited to experience your work.
thank
And
you.
so everyone listening and watching, you can learn more about us at mewefairs.com. That's MEWEFAIRS.com. I look forward to being with you again soon. Thanks, Laurie.
Thank you.